Welcome back, everyone. In this episode of my Prog Rock show, we are going to crisscross the globe and take a look at 5 lesser-known progressive rock bands from 5 different countries. Before we begin, I want to make a number of disclaimers. No bands from Britain. We know that prog originated in Britain, as well as the proper way to speak English, which I continuously butcher in my videos. Okay, there'll be one band from Britain, but it will be a specific part of Britain. I'll let you know when I get to it. This is not a ranking. I still refuse to rank. It'd probably not be a good idea since it'll look like I'm ranking the countries the bands are coming from instead of the bands themselves, and that just wouldn't look good. I mean, I would rank if I had an overwhelming request to do so, but I've never had an overwhelming request to do anything on my YouTube channel. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I'm terrible at pronouncing words in different languages. Thankfully, I've found Google Translate. La máquina de hacer pájaros.
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 That's what I said. Let's begin. Since I live in the United States, we'll start here, namely Tampa, Florida, where White Witch emerged from. White Witch was meant to be the antithesis of bands like Black Sabbath, bringing good where there was once evil. White Witch recorded a duo of albums for Capricorn Records, a label credited for creating Southern rock. Their self-titled debut was released in 1972 with a more progressive sound, while their second and last album from 1974, A Spiritual Greeting, delves a little more into arena-oriented rock. You really can't go wrong with either. The music is well played, but this is one of the few times I have to rave about the vocals. This is the best example of a vocal chameleon I have ever heard with a wide range of styles. These albums are going to be hard to find, at least on CD, so I would listen to White Witch any way you can. Dutch progressive rock group Supersister, which is actually short for Sweet OK Supersister, had their beginnings in Hague in 1965. After some name and lineup changes, the band would record their first single in 1970. Soon Supersister would sign with Polydor Records, resulting in a second single and their first LP, Present from Nancy, also recorded in 1970. Supersister's unique blend of prog, psychedelic, weirdness, and humor, with keyboards, flute, bass, and drums, would secure a place in the Dutch underground, as well as some BBC airplay. The lyrics are in English. Now, I have nothing against lyrics in different languages. It's just easier for people like me who only speak fluent broken English. Supersister would release 4 more albums through 1974. This includes concept albums focusing on a serious take of Alexander the Great and a not-so-serious take on schizophrenia. Supersister would eventually get back together in 2000, and if you are open to a more whimsical take on prog, then you will enjoy Supersister. Sebastian Hardie is not a person. Not to say that there isn't somebody out there with that name, but in this case it's the name of a prog band from Sydney, Australia. Originally the Sebastian Hardie Blues Band, in the late 60s, Sebastian Hardie would find a stable lineup and enter into the world of prog. They produced 2 offerings in the 70s, their debut 4 Moments in 1975, and their follow-up titled Wind Chase in 1976. Hardie didn't really add anything new to the genre, but were a solid symphonic prog quartet with guitar, keyboards, bass, and drums. The band would split and 2 members would adopt the name Wind Chase for a standalone album in 1977. Sebastian Hardie would briefly reform for Progfest in Los Angeles in 1994 and eventually release the album Blueprint in 2011. Symphonic prog is a rarity in Australia, but Sebastian Hardie offers safe but effective prog. Crucis, which means crucifix or by way of the cross, is a prog band hailing from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Crucis began their existence in 1974. They released their self-titled debut featuring shorter songs in 1976, and their 1977 follow-up Los Delirios del Mariscal features longer but fewer tracks. Crucis was again a typical four-piece with guitar, keyboard, bass, and drums, and they sang in their Spanish native tongue. You can find your standard prog affair with guitar and keyboard interplay that will keep the listener quite entertained. There is some live material that exists as well. I notice most of the prog I have in my collection from South America is from Argentina. I'm not sure why that is. So Wales is part of Great Britain, but it is a country with its own government as well. Lone Star is a Welsh band, and I'm not talking about the United States country group Lone Star, which is one word, not two. Lone Star was signed to CBS Records and released their self-titled debut in 1976, which was produced by Roy Thomas Baker, known for producing Queen. The band had a more hard rock sound compared to the likes of Led Zeppelin, but leaned heavily into progressive rock as well. Immediately, the band hit a tumultuous period with the departure of their lead singer and feeling overproduced by Baker. Their second and final album, Firing on All Six, was released in 1977 with a very Robert Plant-like singer. CBS would pull the plug because of the lack of sales and a changing musical climate. Both albums should satisfy hard rock and prog fans alike. Thank you for joining me in this trip around the world. There is plenty more to come in this series. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.